Author My Try is a wonderful way for you to teach your students to write a variety of different types of sentences. Your room is packed with books, with all different types of texts written by published authors. This is a technique in which you are taking an author's work and using that author as a teacher for your students. I have a sentence that we are going to use for our Author My Try lesson. Let's read the sentence. The woman danced across the floor, smiling, laughing, giggling. So the first thing that we do is we're going to read the sentence. We're going to stop after any meaningful chunks. We're going to break apart that meaningful chunk using a question word. That question word is going to identify the function of that part of the sentence. So let's go back and read. The woman danced across the floor, smiling, laughing, giggling. Now let's stop at any meaningful chunk, ask the question, what is that part of the sentence doing? So that we can break apart that part of the sentence. The woman, oops, I'm going to stop. That's a meaningful chunk. I'm going to put a slash here. Who is this sentence about? So this is asking me who. So look, I'm just going to put who up there. So later when I go to write my next sentence, I can ask the same thing. So I go back and read the chunk. The woman danced. We're going to stop. This is telling me what action is the woman doing. What about the woman? What is the action that this woman is doing? Danced. So the woman danced. So again, I go back and I stop. I'm going to identify each meaningful chunk. The woman danced across the floor. Stop. This is telling me where the woman danced. The woman danced across the floor, smiling, laughing, giggling. This is telling me how the woman danced across the floor. She was smiling, laughing, giggling while she was dancing. Let's jump to the My Try box. Let's figure out what we're going to be writing about in this next sentence. So we're just going to think of the idea first. I don't have to use the sentence yet. So some sort of a bully at our campsite. So we're going in and we're just talking about an idea. And this could be, we're writing a story, and here we are in this sentence where this bully is coming into our campsite. So again, you can attach this to your writing easily because you're always starting with the idea first. After you have your idea, a bully's coming into the campsite, let's go to our sentence. Who or what are we talking about? We could have beast, bully, hooligan, juvenile, youngster. Which one of those are going to really give the feeling of this sentence? Let's see. We could say the bully or the beast. Let's call him the beast because we know that he's really cruel and mean. So let's look at the beast. Ooh, this is good so far. So notice what we did. We used a precise noun. I don't want to use youngster. Youngster doesn't make me think of a bully. I don't want to say kid. That doesn't make me think of a bully. But I could say the beast. I could say the bully. I could say the brute. Those are precise words. So notice, I'm also going into word choice, the precise words that we're using in which we have this cruel, mean person invading our campsite. The beast. Let's put a slash here. What about the beast? What was the beast doing? What was that mean, cruel thing the beast did? But we could say that he raced, he dashed. No, let's say stormed, because stormed, that sounds more destructive. Raced, darted, that doesn't sound destructive. Stormed sounds destructive. The beast stormed. Slash, where did the beast storm? Across our campsite. How? How did the beast storm across the campsite? So we're taking smiling, laughing, giggling to show that this woman was all happy and jovial, and we want to use this same technique but use words that are going to show how he's a brute and a beast and a bully. So what was he doing? How did he storm across the campsite? And we came up with scowling, fuming, frowning. We've taken this author's style, used it as mentor text, and created a completely different sentence using our idea from which we have this mean bully, angry and mad, ready to pop. Let's read our new sentence. The beast stormed across the campsite, scowling, fuming, frowning. We read the mentor text. We stopped at meaningful chunks. We asked the question that matched that chunk, and we broke apart that part of the sentence. Then we came up with our idea. What are we going to write a sentence about? Completely different idea. What kind of tone do we want in our new sentence? We're going to use this style, but we're going to have a tone. And we said we wanted this mean, angry guy at a campsite. Then the next thing we did was we asked the question words. Who or what are we talking about? Up here we said the woman, the beast. Then we went, what about? Up here we said danced. Let's use stormed. And when we asked the question, we filled in those phrases or words. Not only did we use this author's style and create our own sentence, we also were looking at word choice. That word choice was important. This mean brute came across in this sentence. That tone of our writing was clear, that this is something that is mean and destructive, while up here it was jovial and sweet. This is from a novel that a student is reading. Therefore, you could have all your students using this activity. It doesn't matter what reading level they're at. Because what's interesting is that if a child is reading at a higher level, the sentences are going to be more sophisticated and they can handle that difficulty level in order to create their own sentences. While if a child is reading at a lower reading level, those sentences will be written at an easier level so that they can use this same activity. They're taking books that they're reading and they're pulling out sentences that they will have control over and be able to create new sentences using that particular author's style. Let me give you some examples. In our first example, the student was reading the novel Touching Spirit Bear, written by the author Ben McCallison. The student is reading this novel, and at the end of every chapter, she went back, found her favorite sentence, and recorded it in a box. Then she went through the author My Try steps, and she created her own sentence. Notice again, the bottom part of this page was a sentence that she really enjoyed reading, and then she created a new sentence using this author's style. Let's walk through the steps of what this student did. From this book, Touching Spirit Bear, the student had finished reading a chapter, wrote down the page number, and then wrote down her favorite sentence from that chapter. That sentence was, "Squeaking chairs and shuffling shoes broke the anxious silence." In order to have students take this particular sentence, use this style, and translate it to a completely different topic, but keep that style, the first step that you need to do is have them break the sentence apart in meaningful chunks. We are going to read the sentence and stop and ask a question. Watch. Squeaking chairs and shuffling shoes broke the anxious silence. Who or what are we talking about? Squeaking chairs and shuffling shoes. Let's break that up into two chunks. Squeaking chairs, / and shuffling shoes. Even though that was a compound subject, we broke it up into two parts so that when we went to form a new sentence, it was a little easier to do. So squeaking chairs, / and shuffling shoes, / broke the anxious silence. What did it do? Broke the anxious silence. So we're going to keep that together. The box down below here would be empty, and the first thing they do is they say, instead of squeaking chairs, what could I have? Tapping fingers. So we have our tapping fingers is replacing squeaking chairs. The second half of that subject, of that compound subject, instead of and shuffling shoes, we have and batting eyelashes. What about the tapping fingers and the batting eyelashes? What did they do? Over here we had broke the anxious silence. Here we have caused the pregnant pause. So again, this student was able to break apart the sentence into meaningful chunks, then form a new sentence with a new subject, and create, using this same style, a brand new sentence. Let's do the one on the bottom. When she had finished reading a chapter, she wrote down the page number, and then she wrote her favorite sentence in that chapter. Misty rain roughed the water as waves washed over his head. So we went back and we said, let's read and chunk. Misty rain. Who or what are we talking about? Misty rain, slash. Roughed the water. What did the misty rain do? Roughed the water, slash. As waves washed over his head. As waves washed over his head. Instead of saying misty rain, she said cloudy skies. We have roughed the water. What did she put? Rolled into the valley. As the waves. What did she put? As raindrops. And when did they do this? As raindrops trickled in on his forehead. So washed over his head, trickled on his forehead. This is an example of a student taking mentor text that she is reading, pulling out a sentence, and using the technique author my try, in which the first thing we did was write the author's sentence. So here's our author with a pencil in their hand. Then break apart the sentence into meaningful chunks. And when we break apart the sentence, we're going to read and stop when we think we have finished a meaningful chunk, and ask the question, what is that chunk of sentence telling us? Is it telling us who? What? Is it telling us what happened? Is it telling us when? Where? How? Why? After we break apart the text, then we go to my try. And my try is when the student is going to take each one of those meaningful chunks, and they are going to have a new topic, but use the same style of those chunks to create their own sentence. And when students are reading their own books, they can use this author my try, in which students could have a author's sentence, and then they could do a my try in this box. Ultimately, what you want your students to do is to master these steps so that they can read an author's work and apply that author's technique to their own writing. This activity is giving you that connection from an author style to the child actually using those techniques in their own written work. Students will read an author's writing but don't know how to take that style and apply it to their own. This is very systematic, also concrete enough for students to identify that style and put it into their own work. I hope that you use these steps and this activity all throughout your school year, whole group, small group, and for children to use it independently on their own. Good luck.